Did you end up staying up in Toronto? You had to stay up for the 14-day quarantine. Were you in Toronto for any time past that, or did you head home right away?
No, I was in Toronto a majority of that time.
All right.
And then I took off when I heard that we were going to be in Florida for those couple of weeks. I just went back to the States for a few weeks to get a few things and then met the team here in Naples.
Not to get too personal, but you got a lot of basketball players in your family.
Yeah.
What were the 2-on-2 games like? And were there any when you
Oh,
did?
for sure. Normally it was myself and my youngest daughter
Yeah.
against my two boys, Alan and Adrian. And Aubrey, my daughter, and I, we won all the games because the boys would always fight and bicker about passing the ball to each other. So they basically beat themselves. So we're probably like 99-1 against the boys.
How weird was that to be able, though? I mean, you haven't been home that time of year since what, college days, or like? I mean, I looked that back at your bio, and it was all that time. You always seem to be somewhere, right? Other than
Sure. Yeah. Well, I live in Champaign, Illinois, with my current wife. So my kids live in New York with their mother. So I wasn't able to see them, but we had a lot of Zoom calls, and I was actually got to enjoy my house. I think in the last 2 years I've been there probably a total of 4 weeks. So that was quite a pleasant change.
All right, I appreciate it, Coach. Thanks.
Yep.
Doug, you're up.
Adrian, it's Doug Smith from the Star. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, looking good. Thanks very much for taking the time. We had Terrence Davis on earlier today, and he was talking about being a rookie and sort of a rookie, but not really a rookie, and now going in to the playoffs. What kind of things do you need from him, given he has no experience in the cauldron that he's about to enter?
Well, I think for rookies is you just want them to go out there and play with confidence, know the game plan, limit as many mistakes as possible. And I know that's tough for rookies, but you're only given a lot of amount of time on the floor, and you're there to when I was in Chicago, Tom Thibodeau would always say to at least either increase the league or maintain the league. And I think that's what you want for rookies to come in, to either just play well enough that we can put more points on the board, or be neutral as best and limit some of the mental mistakes. But TD has been so impressive for a rookie. He's really won several games for us. Had some big games as a starter. So he's one of those rookies that you can't wait to see them in the next year or two, because you know that they're going to have significant growth moving forward. So he's been a pleasure to coach.
If I may, just one follow-up on a different tack. As you mentioned, you have 3 young children, or children who are young adults. This whole Black Lives Matter and the racial injustices, that program, that must have hit home very hard for you, wanting a new life, a new world for your children. How can you affect that change, and what have you been talking to them about this whole process?
Well, I have 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys. And, it's been a very trying time for all of us, especially as parents. And I think the biggest challenge and the biggest advice that I can give is to be the change that you want to see. A big part of the reason why I'm here in the NBA and having, some of the success that I've had is because of my parents. My father was a minister. He was a great role model in the community, constant learner, thousands of books, always treated people the way he wanted to be treated. So as parents, I think it's better to be examples. Obviously what you say, sometimes they look at more of what you do. So I've always tried to be the best role model that I can be, because if you're not authentic and if you're not living the morals and the values that you set forth for your children, they see that. And so for me, it's been more focusing on my actions. This has been really a time of reflection where I'm looking in the mirror and I'm asking myself, what can I do more? Am I being an example to my children? And also I think lastly is you have to just be there for them and listen to them. My oldest is 23, so a lot of times as a parent, you want to protect your children and you want to talk and educate. But this has been a very critical time where I just shut up and listen, and she really shared to me a lot of her frustrations and a lot of things that she's going through. And I just had to zip it and listen and not try to fix it, but allow her the respect, and to validate how she feels. And I told her that it's okay to feel the way that you feel. And I think that was very smart on my end, because it allowed us to have those open conversations. And I think that's what you want. You want your children to be able to talk about these things. So they got to feel comfortable coming to you and say, I don't think this is right. I'm getting frustrated. And then, we're able to come up with a solution.
Great. Thanks very much, Adrian. I appreciate it.
Stephen from Sportsnet is next.
Hey, Coach. Just back to Terrence quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He was mentioning earlier how a lot of the guys on the team don't view him as a rookie anymore. Yes. I was wondering, what does the coaching staff view of him? And if he isn't viewed as a rookie, what is he viewed as on the team right now by the coaching staff?
Well, obviously, I think if you went back and watched some of our games, Coach Nurse has unbelievable trust in him, and so does the entire coaching staff. He, as I mentioned before, he started in a couple of games. I believe he started in the Charlotte game and had a career high, or one of his career highs. He had an excellent game at home where he shot the ball very well, and he's just a complete all-around player, and he's still improving, and that's the scary part about it. I think he's already positioning himself as one of the elite scorers and shooters in this league as a two guard. And he has a phenomenal attitude. He's fun to work with, has a great work ethic with all our coaching staff. So Coach Nurse, I think, is, allowing him room to grow. And I think that's important for young players, is that you got to allow them to play through some mistakes. And, you can't play tight, you can't play in fear. And I think that's one thing that Coach Nurse does with all our players, is giving them the confidence to go out on the floor, not worrying about, looking over their shoulder or looking over the bench. But, if you're faithful over that, Coach Nurse, he'll roll with you. But it's up to you. You got to take that responsibility. And if you're not ready, Coach is not going to play you. But if you are ready, he'll leave you out there.
And just a quick follow-up, that kind of like allowing Terrence to make a mistake, would that still be the case even in like the most important situations, such as in the playoffs?
Well, I think I think that's dependent on Terrence as he continues to develop, and it's all about trust. Obviously, the regular season is much different from the playoffs, and the championship game is much different than the first, second round. So if Coach feels that he can trust putting him in that situation, he will. But at the same time, if he is not ready, we would be doing him a disservice in putting him out there. So we have a responsibility to the team and to Terrence to put him in the best situation where he's going to thrive and the team is going to thrive as well.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Yep.
Go ahead, Doug.
Adrian, sorry. One thing we've talked to a couple players about was playing with no fans and how the end of the bench guys are going to have to provide the energy that fans generally do. Mm-hmm. What can coaches do to help generate some juice, as it were, in a dead arena?
Well, I think our energy, just being positive, being more vocal, and keeping the players engaged. And I think just looking down the bench and just doing these checks here and there to make sure that everyone engaged and just keeping the dialogue going. And again, as coaches, we got to bring that energy ourselves. We got to be into the game. We got to be up cheering and clapping and directing and giving instruction out there. So it's one of those things that all hands on deck. And I think it's going to be one of those situations where you can't hide. I don't think, even the guy who's the 15th person on the bench, he's going to have to bring the energy as well. So it's going to be fun. I think, you can always look at adversity in two ways, either as a threat or as a challenge. And I think, everyone with the Raptors organization is looking at this as an unbelievable challenge and great opportunity to showcase why, we are champions and we have the mental fortitude to go for it again.
That's great. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doug. Back to Mike. Are you there, Mike?
There you go. Sorry. Coach, just wondering, I was kind of curious, what was your first or your initial reaction when you first saw Marc Gasol this time around?
I had to do a double take. I won't lie. I was so impressed about, just the way he's looks. He just looks phenomenal. And I know that it's not easy. As someone myself who's always struggled, as a player to maintain, a certain level of weight, it's not easy. It really isn't. And for him, he could have been doing anything during this quarantine and this pandemic, but that shows you what kind of person he is, high character guy, that he took it upon himself to get in the best shape possible. And truth be told, I think the team that wins this championship is going to be the team that is in the best physical shape, because you're not going to have those months, ideally, during an NBA season where you can work yourself in shape. So the team that comes in the best conditioning is going to give themselves a competitive advantage. So my hat goes off to Marc, and I kind of missed the big fella though. He was just so likable. But I'm getting used to the new Marc.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Coach.
Next up, we have Vivek from Complex.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this. Just curious, you're so accustomed to having a training camp where you come in and you're just easing into the season and you're going into preseason and whatnot. What's this going to be like? What's the mindset like now where you have a training camp where you're effectively just getting ready for the playoffs?
Well, I think you have to maximize every day. There can't be any bad days. Just truthfully telling it like it is. Everyone's going to have to show up and they're going to have to give maximum effort for that day and win the day. That's what's going to come down to. That you can only play the hand that's dealt, and everyone is going to have the same amount of days to prepare. And the good thing is we have a bunch of professionals. They're awesome guys that they want to work, they want to win. And I think also, you're not going to get it all back in one day, and we have to be smart about it as well, and not try to push them past the threshold. But you just want to maximize those days and get the work in that you need and get ready for the next day. And
just looking at the 22 teams that will be there, in some ways, do you almost have to erase what's happened before? Because like you said, there's going to be guys like Marc Gasol coming back looking completely different. You might have teams that are playing completely different. Mm-hmm. Do you almost have to wipe the past away in terms of looking at these teams now?
Well, I think, one, you're going to have to control what you can control, and that's us. That's the 15 to 16 guys on our roster. That's how we prepare every day. But at the same time, it's hard. It's going to be hard to change, your stripes right now, so to speak. It's hard to change the game in the seventh inning. I think you're not going to have time to try to put in a totally different philosophy moving forward. So, the teams that we're going to face are probably going to be really consistent to who they were during the season. So, It's not like when we play Milwaukee, and you got to prepare for Giannis. He's going to be Giannis, and when we play Lakers, LeBron's going to be LeBron. Anthony Davis is going to be Anthony Davis. So we know these guys. They know us. We'll prepare as best as we can, best possibly a way that we can, and kind of let the chips fall where they may.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Vivek. Last call for questions. I don't see anything here. I think we're good.
Great.
Thanks very much, Coach. Thanks, Coach.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.